thank you so much for coming today. Do you want to start off with a little introduction about yourself and your business?
Yes, I am Sophia. I am 32 from London. I feel like I'm on a dating show. And I am the founder of Morby, which is an online estate planning platform for young people.
Love. And how did you get started? I know you went to university. What was that journey like, and when did the idea come to you?
I spent a lot of time at university, pretty much my whole 20s. And then I ended up qualifying as a barrister back in 2021.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then in 22, I had something personal happen to me, and it sort of just made me realise there was a big problem in the UK with estate planning and young people. So, people weren't getting wills, or they aren't getting wills, that sort of 25 to 45 demographic, and yet they need them because they've got a family, pets, property, savings. And I was looking into the stats and I was like, this is insane. Like 85% of 25 to 45-year-olds don't have a will. Why not? And so, it was just a bit of a high calling moment. I was like, let me just do something here. And then I was sitting on the tube one day and I thought, okay, I'm gonna create a company. I don't know what to call it. I didn't want to do something cliche like willify or willful. So I was like, I don't know, let me play around with the word morbid because I didn't want it to be morbid.
Yeah.
And then that's why I came up with Morby.
Love. And I love how original it is, and all your marketing is stunning.
Thank you.
How did you come up with that? Do you come from a creative background? Did you get someone to do it for you?
It is actually all me. So I have a legal background, but I am just naturally quite creative. And I actually started the first new generation modelling agency in the UK back in 2017 with my sister. And if you look at Revolt, it's called Revolt. It's very creative, it's very new gen. And so I think I've sort of carried that, I think, from Revolt to Morby. But yeah, it's definitely all me. We don't have the budget to bring anyone on yet.
And so how did you go from modelling to legal? What was that path like?
So I started the modelling agency when I was doing my first degree. So I'd really just gone to university, and me and my sister just sort of saw in the fashion industry that something needed to change. We wanted to see more inclusivity, more progressiveness. We were sort of both tired of seeing models that were just 6 foot, size 0, symmetrical face. And so we decided to create an agency that sort of championed against that.
Amazing.
And then, obviously, so that was I did that alongside my studies and then qualified, and then now it's Morby. So I'm a bit all over the place.
Okay, stunning. And where do you think you get the drive, determination and confidence at the end of the day to start a business? Because you can just wake up one day and go, yeah, I'm going to start it, but it's actually terrifying to start a business.
I actually don't really know. Neither of my parents are entrepreneurial. I think I'm just a massive overthinker, and I'm always thinking about, okay, what can I do? What would make things better? I'm also not very good with kind of normal 9-to-5 structure. Okay, yes, I did qualify as a barrister, and yes, I spent my whole 20s in that structure, but it didn't feel right to me. I always tend to think more outside the box with things. And I'm always just thinking about a million different things at the same time and what I can do. So I guess that kind of reflects me.
Definitely. And what do you think were some of the lessons that you learned in your first business that you knew you wanted to implement into Morby so that you wouldn't make the same mistakes or have the same barriers?
I guess we were sort of targeting the same demographic. So in terms of a positive, I knew kind of what the brand needed to feel like in order to be sort of fresh in that target market. We bootstrapped Revolt, so we got 0 investment. So coming into Morby, I had no idea about fundraising. I didn't even know what a seed round was. I genuinely had 0 knowledge. So I feel even though, I had this business background, I actually didn't really have a clue. I knew how to run a business and I knew how to do day to day, and it was sort of learn as you go with Revolt, because neither me or my sister had any business background before then. So the general day to day and sort of how to manage people, I carried forward, and the creativity. But I was really lacking on the fundraising side. I had no idea. And I feel in the last 2 years, I've just learnt so much about fundraising with Morby.
And how did you get started? Where did you go? Were you okay, this is going to be almost like a tech platform, and I'm going to need to raise X amount of money so that I can create what I want to create? And then how did you go from, okay, I need to raise money, to actively trying to do it?
That is an interesting question. I feel the first thing I did was try and find a team, because I actually built the first product, i.e. the will product, with 0 investment. So, which I think is actually quite rare when I speak to other people. I didn't realise that was rare. I feel like I was so charismatic about Morby. I just managed to get on a team for essentially sweat equity, build the product. And then the past few months, it's been like, okay, in order to like actually scale this, we need money. So now's the time to fundraise. But for the first like year and a half, it was more just, okay, let's build the product. Let's do the screens. Like I've got a really good team around me. I've got, a great co-founder. And yeah, it's only recently we've sort of transitioned into the fundraising journey.
And how's it going? Where are you at?
Oh my gosh, it's so tough fundraising. It's so tough. I mean, we're nearly there, like we're about to close, but it's been tough because I didn't want to go down the VC route. We're too early for that. So it's been specifically angels. And then really you can't just sort of like do cold outreach to angels. Like it's kind of tough. So, it's been like, can you introduce me to this person? Can you do a warm intro over email to this person? Like I've been reaching out to people. Yeah, it's really been a tough journey. I feel like back in the day, I hear about stories of you can just send a pitch deck out and you'll get a check.
Yeah.
But now, especially as a woman, actually, I think it's harder. Now it's a lot harder.
And is
generally.
your co-founder male or female?
Male.
And have they been helping with fundraising as well?
Yeah.
And what kind of, do you feel like you're getting a different response if you send an email or they send an email?
Not really. I feel like we've got a good dynamic. So he'll do like the intro and then I'll sort of come in and sell it. So it's a sort of, he's like the little starter and I come in as the main meal and then we both close dessert.
Yeah, love.
So that's how it works.
Okay, and so in terms of finding these angel investors, obviously it's warm intros from other people, but are there any other avenues or tips that you would give to other female founders raising for the first time trying to find those angels?
I would say networking events first and foremost, but I do actually think that both from an investor standpoint and also I went to networking events to try and fundraise, but also to try and build relationships with, companies where Morby could potentially, align with. But I actually feel like, and this is probably going to be against the grain a little, I feel like I will speak to people at networking events and then I'll try to follow up and it's really tough to actually like close stuff. So originally I would have said networking events, but I actually don't think the conversion rate is that high from those events. I would say LinkedIn is probably quite a good resource. I have reached out to quite a few people. I feel like with ChatGPT now, it's difficult to
sound authentic.
So like it is me drafting it, but I have to word it almost more casual than I normally would because I don't want to sound like AI. LinkedIn and it is really tough. Like every angel that I've got on board so far has been through someone that I know. And even then it's not like, okay, I know this person, she's got a great business, write her a check. It's still like a million meetings and, then they come back with a million questions. So even through a connection, it's still really tough. So yeah.
Definitely. And when I've been raising for my companies and other companies, actually having those long-standing relationships with angel investors takes so much time and energy to like keep going for coffee with them or grabbing lunch and like catching up with them and messaging them, even if you're not actively fundraising, but knowing that you're going to fundraise at some point. It's a lot of time at the end of the day. How did you find managing trying to run the business and fundraising?
A struggle. So tough. I feel like you're almost in survival mode when you're fundraising. So it's definitely, pushed me off balance a bit, I think, the fundraising experience. Like I'm obviously still working on Morby every day, but it just takes up so much time, like you said, especially now we're at the very end trying to close the round. So literally trying to get in the last probably like 1 or 2 checks max. And so it's almost like, a push to get over the line. And there's a lot of pressure as well because, you don't want to lose the original investors that said yes and you can't really get cash in at different times. It's definitely tough to navigate. I feel like we're in the trenches right now. I have 2 weeks or so to raise 50K.
No, definitely. Have you found any red flags with certain people that have breadcrumbed you?
Oh my God.
And if so, do you mind telling us one of the red flags that you've seen?
So when we were originally raising pre-seed, we were looking to raise 500K. And we went to one guy and he is from a big family fund, notable investor. He was like, yeah, I'll give you the full check. And I was like, oh my God, amazing. I don't know what people were talking about this fundraising journey, so easy. And then over months, it's sort of, came to light that actually he wasn't going to. Nothing really on our side. It was more like, oh, actually, I don't have capacity. They sort of just end up slowly backing out. And that actually happened a couple of times with various people. And so, I really do feel like there's definitely an element of smokes and mirrors in the fundraising game, because people will just, especially if you sit down with them and they just end up telling you what you want to hear, I think. And so I've definitely, I guess tread with a little more trepidation now when it comes to sitting down with angels and having those talks. And if they say they're going to be a chat, I'm like, there's a little bit more hesitation. I'm like, okay, we'll see. It's not actually done until the money is in your bank, right? So yeah.
100%. And so for other first-time female fundraisers, God, such a tongue twister, what are red flags that they should look out for for investors that actually may not put the money in?
I think anyone that sort of makes it seem a bit too easy. There's not a lot of due diligence that they're asking for. I feel like it's almost those ones that feel too good to be true. Usually they are. I had my only female angel. I was so happy to have a woman on board, because it's very male dominated, my team, sadly. And she was on board for months. So she was confirmed, we had so many meetings, she met the team. And then Christmas Eve, I got a text saying, yeah, I actually just want to put the money into my husband because he's going to start something. And I'm like, okay, I get it. You'd obviously rather invest in your husband, but you made a solid commitment. And then she just blanked me and hasn't replied since.
Oh my goodness.
And so I feel like that was a huge letdown. I just felt like, be a better person. You could have at least called me as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And not done it on Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
Ouch.
Christmas Eve.
Just wait.
Ruined my Christmas. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to raise more now. So that was, yeah. But it's just been a journey. There's been lots of that. So I feel like we're coming to the end, touch wood.
See the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm just looking forward to closing.
And how has your experience been as a female trying to raise? Do you feel like it's been more difficult? Have you seen any adversity because you're female? How's that been? At Dext, we know that running a business shouldn't be about the busy work. You've set out to build something on your own, to make time, dream big, and do more. But receipts are everywhere. Invoices get lost. Your inbox never stops. Then you're stuck trying to make the numbers make sense. Dext is the all-in-one bookkeeping automation platform. It's simple, accurate, and all in real time. Just how bookkeeping should be. Your financial data right where it needs to be, with you finally building bigger things. Go to dex.com to find out more.
I don't know if I actually, maybe behind the scenes, I feel like, people might judge me preemptively sometimes, especially because, I don't look like your typical lawyer. I'm quite into fashion, and so they have this initial judgment of me. But then when I start speaking and when I tell them about, my background and everything, and then I sort of see the, that sort of tension drop. I don't know. It's actually been, I think it's been fine thus far.
Love that for you.
Yeah. Honestly, sometimes I feel like male angel investors can actually be a little more receptive if you're a woman.
Love. And I feel like we're both trying to make quite sometimes boring industries a bit more fun and also accessible. Your pricing is super accessible for everyday people. You're not pricing yourself out of your cohort that you're going after. And so just for people listening, could you explain what happens if you don't have a will?
Yes. So essentially the government decides what happens to your estate. So you are essentially subject to the laws of intestacy. So it sounds really scary, but there are a set of rules where it's determined on if are you married? Do you have kids? If you don't have kids, then, and you're not married, then it goes to your parents. If you are married, it goes to your spouse. If you aren't married and you have kids, it goes to your kids. So there are certain rules. But the thing is that there are also inheritance tax, and I'm sure you will know this, little loopholes that you can utilise. If the government decides what happens to your estate, you don't get to utilise the inheritance tax loopholes. I don't know if loopholes is the right term here, but basically
tax efficiencies.
Yeah, tax efficiencies. And people might not be happy with that. Same with, if you've got a dog and you don't want your dog going to your sister, for example, what are you going to do if you don't have a will? I think it's about being in control and sort of protecting those that you actually want to protect.
Definitely. And how often should people update their will?
I mean, the government say once every 5 years. or after a life event. So if you get married, if you have kids, you know, if you buy property, that's when it should be updated. We do actually have something on the platform that allows you to like really easily update it. So it's, as you said, the £80 upfront, which is super cheap. And then it's £10 per year. And for that amount, you essentially get unlimited updates. So you can go on the platform, if you're married, change it, and then we give you a new one.
Amazing. And when you were doing research about setting up the company, what were the main reasons as to why young people weren't having wills?
So this is actually a really interesting one because I went into the research thinking people are going to come back and be like, yeah, I just don't think I'm going to die anytime soon. But actually an overwhelming majority came back and said, no, I do actually need to do that. I just don't really know where to start. And I don't want to sit down with a man in a grey suit for 2 hours. So actually it was completely different to what I thought. I thought young people sort of thought, you know, I'm invincible. Like I'm not planning on dying anytime soon. And of course, you know, a lot of them won't. But actually, yeah, especially the people with like babies and, you know, pets and properties were like, yeah, this is something I've actually been thinking about. Like I need to do it. I just don't know how to do it or what to do. And I don't want to also pay a lawyer like £400.
Yeah, definitely. And so how did you, other than obviously your marketing, make wills less intimidating for young people?
I mean, yeah, the marketing is a big thing. The way the platform is created, it's, you know, very easy to use. Like there's no legal jargon. There's also little sort of bite-sized bits of education in there as well if you are interested. I would go so far as to say that literally a 12-year-old could use it. It's so easy. You know, you just go through like your personal details, what you have, who you want them to go to, and sort of any other wishes that you have. So yeah, I think it was about simplifying the whole process, making it really easy, no jargon, and then, yeah, the marketing sort of to just get them onto the platform.
Yeah, love. And so going back to having a co-founder, now some people find finding a co-founder really easy and you get on really well and life's a dream, but I've heard some co-founder horror stories. So how did you go about finding your co-founder and knowing it was the right fit for you?
So my co-founder has actually been my friend for a very long time. And he also went through something similar in terms of like, you know, having an issue where the estate wasn't dealt with correctly because someone didn't have a will. And so it was the easiest sell to get him on board. He was just so enthusiastic from day one. And he's so high energy. He's so enthusiastic, even day, whatever we are, like 800. And I don't have a single bad thing to like say about him. Like he's the best co-founder. So yeah, no horror stories this side.
Okay. Well done, congratulations. And so how do you manage work? Do you look after one side of the business and he looks after the other? Is there collaboration? How does that relationship work for you?
So the creative stuff tends to be me. Like, bless him, he's good at things, but he's not that creative. So that tends to be my forte and my side of the business. He will do, like, I want to say more of the sort of back end side. And as I said, with this fundraising journey, he's been more at the front, sort of getting the initial introductions and sort of sorting that out. We play different roles. I think when the company is a little bit more developed and we've got a bigger team, he will be more on purely like operations because I think that's his thing. He's also just the guy like you go to if you need an answer for anything. And even if he doesn't have the answer, he'll know someone that has the answer. So he's sort of like the fix-it man. Yeah, it's great.
And how have you found growing a team, and also any advice for people that feel like they might need someone, but how do you know when it's the right time to bring an external person in?
I mean, finding a team, again, I found most of my team sort of through my network already. The only person that I didn't was our head engineer, and I sort of just put an Instagram story out saying I'm looking for engineers, and a few replied, and I sort of had conversations with them, and we needed to bring him on. Like, we needed to build the product, so we needed an engineer. In terms of sort of growing the company outside of him and other team members, again, it was just sort of everyone sort of fit into place. Like, we'd have initial conversations and they'd be like, okay, this is what I do now in my company. This is what I could do. Where they were all sort of friends of friends, it was a little, I guess, just different in terms of relationship start. I've been very lucky with the team, I will say.
Yeah, love that for you. I've done hiring rounds after hiring rounds. And sometimes I get to the end and I go, no one's that great. I'm not going to pick anyone.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, definitely. But obviously wouldn't be coming on an accountant's podcast if I didn't ask you about finance. So in your first and obviously now business, how have you found that financial side of business?
I mean, we only recently launched the product, but in terms of what aspect of finance do you mean?
So like, how have you found monitoring cash flow, for example, or saving for tax and all those small things that sometimes you forget about completely?
Yeah, I mean, we're so early on that like we have an accountant, but I just haven't even really, and we're obviously fundraising, so I probably have a lot I need to catch up on that side of things and prepare for. This is a good reminder, but I can't give you a thorough response to that just because we don't have too much today on that side, and we've only just recently started getting cash like on the revenue side. Something that I need to sort out, but not something I can give you a huge answer for right now.
Do you feel like it's something that should be taught early on, like either in school or like when you register your company, you get like a leaflet being like, okay, these are now your obligations as a company financially?
100%. When I started Revolt, we didn't have money to pay an accountant apart from like corporation tax. So I was doing all the VAT returns myself.
That's crazy.
Everything. And I didn't know what I was doing. And this is before ChatGPT. I had this massive accountancy basics book that I was reading.
Love that for you.
Yeah, it was very... And I was at law school all day and then working Revolt after law school. So it was just like, I was trying to learn everything myself. But I do agree, I think it's really handy if they teach you that stuff, either at school or when you register on Companies House, they send you something through being like, okay, so this is what you need to do. Because I had zero clue. And again, it was like learn as you go along and make mistakes. I'm pretty sure I made a few mistakes back then. So
I know. And also it's the scary letters from HMRC.
Oh my gosh,
being like, your corporation tax is due, and you go, don't even know what the deadline for that is.
Yeah, no, terrible. Even like confirmation statement, I didn't know what that was, like when I first started.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's such a minefield, and if they could just send like a mini booklet or like one of their letters in their scary brown envelopes saying like listing out what you need to be able to do, then actually I feel like it would put everyone at ease.
For sure. I do think though a good marketing tip for accountancy firms is when a company registers on Companies House, sending that out, because I received on the post the other day, they'd sent a leaflet out being like, it wasn't actually for my company, but it was for my boyfriend. And they were like, we saw you registered a company, like these are all things you need to do, blah, blah, blah. It was actually really good. Yeah.
Yes, stunning. Yeah, I'm sure there's a way you can set something up and get a ping every time there's a new company incorporated. Because you get sometimes all those junk letters through the post being like, do you want a credit card? And you're like, no, I'm good, thank you. And so when you finish raising, what's your plans? What are essentially your use of funds?
So a big portion of those funds are going to go towards our next product, which is a digital vault. So it's an online secure vault that's going to be an app on your phone. So it's going to centralize all your documents, your passwords, anything that you need in your life, and it's curated to your life. So if you've got a property, there'll be a property box in there. If you've got pet, there'll be a pet box in there. The intention with the vault is sort of bifold. So it really helps you out during your life, keeps you organized, any time that you need to find anything, you can go straight in there. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I try and find anything, it's like in my notes app or my photos or my emails. I'm searching for ages trying to find stuff. Like my favorites album on my photos is just so bad.
I love now how you can search for things though, because I'm always typing in passport whenever someone needs my ID.
So true. But it makes that whole situation a lot easier. And then of course, if you do die, everyone dies eventually, that vault will then get passed on to your executor, which again sort of solves another big problem in the UK, which is people die, especially spouses, and then the spouse that's left doesn't actually know where anything is. They don't know who pays this. They don't know where this account is. And so it sort of helps solve that problem as well. So that's our next product, and the majority of the funds are going towards that.
That's so exciting. If you could give like someone who doesn't have a will right now, like 3 tips to get like the best out of their will, what would it be?
That's really interesting. 3 tips to get the best out of their will. I think be as extensive as possible. I think be as specific as possible. So don't just say my car. Say my car, number plate. I mean, we will call you out on it. So if you just put my car into the system, we will email you and be like, hey, so like what car is it? Be as extensive as possible. Be specific. And if there's someone that you are purposely leaving out of your will, then what we suggest you do, and again, we provide it on the platform, it's like £20 extra, is we suggest you draft a letter of wishes. And it essentially, it's not a testamentary document, so it can't be submitted with probate, but it means that say okay, say you didn't want your sister in the will. You didn't, I don't know why I keep saying sister because I love my sister so much. But say you didn't want your sister in the will.
Yeah.
And you purposely didn't put her in. Say you were to die and she then contested that will, that letter of wishes can actually be used. And so you would write in the letter of wishes, hey, I actually didn't put my sister on my will because she's really mean to me. And so, yeah, that's always something to think about as well.
Okay, stunning. And so for the normal person, what's the difference between a will and a letter of wishes? Running a firm shouldn't feel like you're chasing after it, but clients' receipts are everywhere. Their invoices get lost, your inbox never stops. Meet Dext, the all-in-one bookkeeping automation platform that helps you make sense of financial data so you can react in real time, so you can finally build bigger things. Go to dext.com for more information.
So a will is a testamentary document, i.e. it is legally binding as long as it's executed and witnessed properly, whereas a letter of wishes isn't. So it's essentially just a less formal document that is kept alongside your will that can either be, you know, sort of just a letter to your loved ones, like some, you know, stuff that you can't put in your will, just explaining what is in your will and why it's in your will, or as I said, explaining why they're not in your will. And yeah, so it's a completely different document.
Okay, thank you. So helpful. I'm learning so much today. And in terms of you and being a founder, how have you found that transition from university to being a founder? Because founder life is hectic.
I did find university quite hectic as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
I feel like where I was also founded during uni, as I said, I was law school all day and then found in the evening. I feel like I already had that sort of mindset. I've always been quite a grafter, but sometimes a bit too late. Like for bar exams, I studied way too late. Like I'm always kind of like the night before, which is crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I've always been quite conscientious. I guess I've always, and naturally been entrepreneurial as well, I will say. I even had, you know, I remember school days when I was really young. I was definitely a bit of a nerd at school. Even though I was sporty, I was a nerd. And I used to get paid to do essays. And then I used to pay, it got so big that I somehow was like paying 5 other kids to do essays, but then taking like half, and like I had a whole enterprise going. So I feel like I'm naturally quite entrepreneurial. And so, yeah, I just don't know, it's just kind of naturally.
And how do you find the work-life balance, or work-life integration, as I like to call it?
Absolutely terrible. I really struggle with that. I feel like my whole life at the moment, no matter what you see on Instagram, a lot of my life is just work. I also am one of those people, I really struggle to turn off at nighttime and turn off and sleep. Really struggle to sleep. So I'm like, oh my God, I think a million different things. And so that's definitely something I went into this year thinking I need to work on a little bit more. Even just working out, I need to get into a better routine and sort of use that to sort of switch off a bit more, which I'm doing quite well at the moment, I have to say. So I'm just trying to keep that up. I feel like I go through bursts where I'm like really good and all of a sudden I just neglect it. So
what little things at the moment are you putting in to be able to do that?
just getting up earlier.
What time are you getting up?
So like this morning I was at Pilates for 6:30.
That's the middle of the night for me.
I know, it's terrible. It was actually diabolical. So yeah, getting up earlier, like sort of taking the time to work out in the morning or late at night, and yeah, just trying to keep it up, trying to get into a good routine. I also travel quite a lot as well. So I work from home, but sometimes abroad because my boyfriend's a tennis player. And so sometimes I can get into a really bad routine because I don't have my gym and I don't have my normal life. So again, that can throw me off a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And how do you cope with travel and work and potentially being in different time zones?
I just have to stay up. So I was in Australia for a month, and I remember I was in the hotel corridor doing Zooms at like 2-3 a.m. and I can't even do it in the hotel room because I don't want to disturb his sleep because he's got like a match the next day. So yeah, it can be that was the worst one for sure in terms of time zone difference. But I don't actually think I'm going to travel for a while now, so it'll be fine.
Okay, good. And so how do you find it with like spending time with family and friends? Is that something where sometimes you're just like, I have it where I'm not present because there's too much going on up here about work and life and work and work and work. So I'm like not present in those situations, or I find it more difficult to relate to friends because my problems and their problems are now very different. And that's been a struggle for me that I've been trying to work through.
Yeah, 100% I agree. And this is something I think about quite a lot. And I definitely struggle with friends that aren't founders. I actually have a few friends now that are founders that I've met recently, and I'm like, oh my gosh, obsessed with them. Like they get it. But my friends that I've known for a very long time and they aren't founders, you know, they sort of clock off at 5 p.m. and then they go down the pub, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I wish I could have this life, but I just can't. And so inevitably we struggle to have the same sort of connection that we once did. And with family, I feel like, again, actually my sister is very entrepreneurial. She's not in the country that much, bless her, but like she gets it. But yeah, again, it's sort of a struggle to make time, hang out with them, see them, and then not be stressed when you're there or anxious about something.
Exactly. And were your parents super supportive when you started? Like my mum, for example, when I started my first business was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, this is a terrible mistake. And now obviously she's a bit more supportive, so because she can see it's doing well. But obviously with your first business with your sister, how did that go?
I think fine, because I was still studying to be a barrister. So I don't think they were too concerned. They were just like, oh, it's a little side project, she'll be fine. I think now, even with this whole fundraising journey, my mum is stressing me out because she's like, when is this going to close? Like, you're going to have to get a proper job. Like, she's stressing me out. My dad's a bit more sort of laissez-faire with it. He's just like, oh, this is great. Like, you know, super proud of you. So yeah, it's a bit of yin and yang for them.
Well, that's nice. I like to do it with my mum. She, like, I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. I call it my threshold for stress. I'm like, I've reached it. And if I sneeze, I'm going to go over it. And she's like, why don't you just not? And I'm like, love you so much. But it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens sometimes when you're around people who aren't on the same journey as you. Because if I was to turn around to you and go, oh my God, the team are being amazing, but like, there's too much and I don't know what to delegate, you'd get that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Whereas my mum would just be like, we'll just delegate it.
It's also like the short-term versus long-term vision, I think. You know, having a startup early on is so tough. There's no money. And so it just looks like you're constantly in the trenches. So obviously from an outside perspective, they're like, oh, this is a struggle. Maybe you should give this up. Like, this isn't working. But then obviously it's, you know, having to, from the founder and the team, it's like, okay, we're going to get through this. And the long term, this is going to be successful. But yeah, it's just some people just don't get it.
Yeah. Have there been any moments in your business where you've been like, maybe I don't want to do this anymore?
It honestly depends where I am in my menstrual cycle.
Preach.
Yeah. If I'm in my luteal phase, I'm like, oh God, I really struggle. No, in all seriousness, well, actually, that is seriously probably true a little bit. But yeah, there definitely have been moments where I've been like, okay, oh my gosh, like we're not going to close this round. It's been months. Like, you just want to give up. And then I'll speak to my co-founder or I'll speak to my boyfriend or my sister, and they'll sort of just give me that little bit of, no, you'll be fine. Like, we'll get through it. I'll support you. So yeah.
That's lovely that you've got such a supportive network around you, because it's always so needed. Do you know what is so true about the menstrual cycle though? I'll find myself in the luteal phase and I'll just get one too many passive aggressive emails and I'll be like, I'm done. I actually don't need this ag anymore. Let me go find a 9-to-5 job. And then I realised I'd actually probably be the worst employee ever, and that's not really an option anymore.
No, literally, I couldn't think of anything worse than just sitting in a grey blank office for 9 to 5. It's just, no, it's just being like a cog in the corporate machine. I don't want to do that.
Well, that was the same thought process I had. So I was in a corporate job from the age of 18 to 21 until I left and started my first business. And the reason I left was because I sat there and I thought, oh my God, I don't want to be here for the next 40 years. Like, wake up and realise I've actually achieved nothing and I've just sat in this office for someone else and I've got absolutely nothing to show for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is a bit morbid, but I was like, that I don't want that to be my life.
Yeah, 100%, I agree. I just would rather struggle. I mean, I'm a bit older than you, but I would, even now, would rather struggle for a few years and build something than go back to, you know, trying to earn for someone else, essentially.
Couldn't agree more. What's been one of your favourite experiences or achievements so far whilst building your company?
I think the one that I didn't see coming was TikTok.
Oh,
really random. So I posted a video just about me and sort of my founder journey out of the blue. Like, there were literally spelling errors when I looked back on it now. Didn't really think much of it, like closed down the app, went to sleep. The next morning we were on like 250k or something. It was crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it really, I don't want to say went viral because people get like 20 million views, but like it kind of blew up. And so that was really unexpected. And I do also feel like, so our main business model is actually going to be B2B. But on the B2C side, actually most of our conversions and customers have come from TikTok, which is so random. And, you know, pre-COVID, I was so anti-TikTok. I was like, no, what's this app that everyone's on? Like, absolutely not. Like, everyone's dancing on it. Like, not for me. And then, of course, during COVID, I was so bored. I was like, right, let me check this out. And then since then, I've been obsessed. But yeah, not something I saw coming. And yet, it's done really well for Morby.
Good. Love. Congratulations.
I also met a few founders on TikTok as well.
Do you know what? I'm always meeting founders on TikTok, LinkedIn and Instagram. And then you just like form really wholesome friendships because you're seeing what each other are building and like almost watching their journey from like the outside looking in. And I just message people going, literally love what you're building.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, stop it, thanks. And I'm like, no worries.
Yeah, no, exactly. One of my favourite friends and favourite people in the whole world right now is a lady called Camilla. I think you might know her. She's building Hunter app, or she's built Hunter app. She's just the most amazing person ever. And I met her through TikTok. She DM'd me.
Do you know what? That's actually how I met Jazz.
Oh.
I DM'd her and I was like, love what you're building.
Yeah, everyone's just out here DMing each other on TikTok. It's really nice.
And like people, especially females, have a very much like pay it forward mentality.
Yes.
Which I think is so valuable.
Yes. Literally, me and Camilla, we, like if one of us gets an email for something, we pass it on to the other person always. Yeah. So it's really, really good. But yeah, TikTok.
Yeah, love. And also to be able to ask advice from other founders as well, that steps in front of you in their journey to like get their wisdom is like so unbelievably valuable.
Yeah, for sure. And also just being able to speak to them and be like, oh my gosh, I'm really struggling right now. Like me and Camilla had a conversation early Jan and we were like, I'm dying. Like, I'm dying. We both just felt the exact same way. And I think it's just that time of year, but at least we could like go to each other and be like, okay, you get it. Like, it's tough right now.
Yeah, in the trenches.
In the trenches, yeah.
And so to leave us, what is a piece of advice that you would give to another female founder?
It sounds really cliche, but it is something that I honestly live by every day, and it's be tenacious. So my granddad just drilled into me, if you don't ask, you don't get. Like you really do have to, anything you need, anything you want, you have to ask for it. Like you don't have anything to lose at the end of the day. So I feel like, yeah, just have tenacity and sort of gumption with stuff and ask people for things. You know, don't have an ego with anything. That would be my advice.
Always. My mum drilled into me, the worst someone can say is no.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I live by that every day.
Exactly.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time and thank you so much for coming on.
No worries. Thanks so much for having me.